Hi, this is the Tampa Bay wallpaper installer coming to you from Tampa, Florida. With our Grasscloth installation, continuing on with this series of Grasscloth installation video segments, and I wanted to show you the next day of the now dry Grasscloth, which has seashells hand woven into the material itself. A very unique wall covering, which, by the way, with these 9-foot lengths, weighs about 8 pounds per sheet of wallpaper. So each is 36 inches long, 36 inches and 9 feet tall, and these cost over $200 per sheet. Notwithstanding that, I mean, it's a very beautiful finish. This is a very eclectic look. This is high-end wall covering. But what it presented to the wallpaper installer was cutting the material. You cannot cut this stuff with your conventional wall covering cutting tools, which are simply breakaway blades in the form of Olfa knives. Olfa is the recommended brand, the 18mm black blade wall covering cutting tools. Scissors. No matter what I had, it presented an additional obstacle to render a very beautiful professional finish. So I thought about it overnight, and I decided that I was going to take a risk to my own safety. So a lot of this, what we do, is actually deleterious to our own safety when it comes to your hands. When you cut wall covering, you're really endangering your hands, because as you guide, especially a double cut, as you cut down the wall, you're using your hand really close to the blade. And if you're doing this for years, you're actually exposing yourself to some danger. Usually you don't get injured, but a lot of times, especially if you're working long hours, you do actually cut your fingers, and I've done that. And then you got to go on. You just have to wrap up your finger, clean it out, and go on. So anyway, this is what I decided, and I want to make this recommendation to you. This is a carpet blade. Now, I have cut carpet before in my life, and I have always cut my fingers while I do it, and the cut is so nasty because it's deep. And so this is the only thing that'll cut it. I got a Dremel. The Dremel is like a saw, unless you completely hold that Dremel, and those of you who have used Dremels, you know that unless you guide this thing properly, like at the bottom of the wall, okay, it's very difficult to determine with this wall covering, in some instances, is almost, but not quite, 3/16 of an inch thick, particularly if the shell should land on the woodwork. Some of the shell is thin, some of it is thick, okay? Just take a look at this material. Some of it is beveled, and so therefore, you see this one right here? Where is my finger? This one right here is raised because it's substantially thicker than the rest. So how to cut it? The directions say you should cut the corners, because if you try to bend them into the corners, the shell will pulverize, and it certainly does. So you have to start your wall covering in a corner, okay? So that you have a factory edge in the corner. It's just, it determines actually where it's actually ideal to do it. Although in this corner, I didn't do that. And so it took me, I'm going to say, about an hour to get that corner installed. It did. I'm not going to exaggerate. It took me at least an hour to get that corner, but it looks beautiful. Take a look at that corner, okay? Now, here's what I wanted to share with you. If you're an amateur, don't use this blade. And I'm not saying that I can't get injured with it myself. I have injured myself. I got the cheapest handle. This was about $3, but the blade is where the money's at. Okay, these blades cut through very thick carpet, and they cut through it sharply, but they're also very dangerous. Okay, so they're single-edged blades, and they are the equivalent of what goes into the Olfa knife, the 18mm. So I just wanted to show you that I had great success before I went on video of cutting this very difficult to cut wall covering. So I'm using the wall as a guide, which wasn't my initial intention, but the customer has the paint to touch it up with. And so I'm very happy with the outcome. Look at how beautiful and sharp this cut is, okay? Look at how nice and snug it is up against the wall. Now, I will clean this up, but for the most part, we have a 100% success of cutting this wall covering against the sheetrock. And you see, the reason why I left it overnight is because this is all dry now, okay? Cutting wall covering, if you can do it the next day, when you have a small amount of wall covering overextending where you're going to cut it, let me just tell you something. It's actually better if you let the thing dry. Here's why. You're not contending with the material being soft here, okay? When it's wet, it's soft. And soft is difficult to cut. You'd think about it. Which is easier, to cut this while it's stiff or while it's wet and soft? You got it. First of all, if you try to cut it while it's soft, the soft part is going to bend. And when it bends, it gives you a little more material to cut. And then what you have is you're cutting off more material than you really want to. When it's dry, it's not going to move. So it's holding itself in place, so to speak. And then it just allows you to cut where you have to, down that line. Okay, so this is the Tampa Bay wallpaper installer with another quick tip on how to cut very difficult wall covering. I hope sharing these facts with you helps you install your next wall covering, or helps you feel confident that no matter what the project is, there is a tool to help you accomplish it. Otherwise, a manufacturer that manufactures such a beautiful wall covering such as this one wouldn't be able to sell it, because it would just become, they would comment online that it's a very difficult thing to cut, don't buy it. Anyway, I hope you like this video. If you do, please click on like over here and subscribe to my channel over here and share this with a friend. Thank you. See you on the next frame.